On this week's edition of the top 10 selling cards on the reserve list from April 19th to the 27th of 2024, we have got to discuss the high value we see being spent in the reserve list this week. We've got some high class hitters that are costing players a lot of money out of their wallets. So stay tuned, guys. There's a lot coming at you, and it's coming up next. If you're here for this video, it's either because you like the MOX man or you like the reserve list. Either way, you're here, you're hanging out with me, and we have a lot to discuss in today's video because there's a lot of reserve list cards selling, and there are reasons why these cards are moving, and that's what we're here to discuss. Now, of course, if you want to support this channel, you want to support the MOX man, don't be shy, guys. Use my TCG Player affiliate link. It's free to do. You could be shopping there anyway, but now you're helping out my channel, and you can feel good about it. All right, guys, we're starting out at number 10. This is MOX Diamond from Stronghold. 33 sales this week, or $20,789. And this is where the difference is. This is where the difference is between new Magic cards and old. When you look at MOX Diamond, a zero casting cost artifact that comes into play, you got to choose and discard a land card or you sacrifice the MOX Diamond. But this thing taps for any color mana you need. And of course, there are ways of going back and getting land. It's not a real debilitating thing to do. And the value is just there. Just think about it, guys. 33 sales, not 4,000 or 5,000 sales to get the same volume. We're talking 33 sales. That's $20,000 plus. And the copies selling, everything from heavily played, if a player can find it, all the way through to graded copies. That card is on the move. Keep an eye on it. Now, our number 9 card is worth next to nothing. And it's something to bring up. This is from Weatherlight. This is the Bosium Strip. 35 sales this week. That's $86. Yes, it makes the list, and it is something to discuss, but let's look at the card. This thing is a 3 casting cost artifact, and of course, you go ahead and you tap 3. It says till end of turn. If at any time the top card of your graveyard is an instant, interrupt, or sorcery, you may play that card although it was in your hand. So basically, you get to cast the card twice, depending if you have a massive amount of mana to be able to utilize this card properly. It's more of an oddity. It has seen play. There have been some decks built around it, but this is not a high value target. The people buying the card, I think, are just tourists. They're stopping by, seeing something they think is cool. But here's the thing. Who's to say it won't be cool one day? Who's to say this thing isn't broken and we're just waiting for the connecting card? Always keep your eyes open for reserve list cards, guys. The cheaper, the better. Hang on to it, spend $10, buy 3 or 4 cards. Now we got Brain Geyser. This is from Revised Edition. It's the one it should be up here. 37 sales this week. And you look at it, it's only $687. It's not a huge amount of money, but the thing is, this card's been seeing an uptick. Its value is rising. The sales are staying steady, and the cards moving are near mint copies. Remember that, near mint copies. That means somebody out there likes what they see and are choosing to buy near mint. Not heavily played. This isn't going into a commander deck, although it could be. The cards I see selling like this when they're near mint, even a couple of graded copies, when I see that stuff moving, it makes me think somebody has a plan. Somebody thinks it's going to change. Something is going to shift the pendulum to make this card worth more, be worth more, could be worth more, or they just believe it's going to be worth more. Either way, somebody might be seeing something you're not. So if this is a card you want, it's still less than $20. It used to be as high as $80. Keep an eye on that card, okay, guys? It's our number 8 this week. It's something to keep in mind. If you already have a play set of 4, don't worry about it. Move along. Now, our number 7 card, again, is from Revised. This is Taiga. Okay, guys, this is one of the dual lands. If you're one of those players who wants to step into the realm of dual lands, you want to work your way up to real power in the game of Magic the Gathering, you want to get to the Legendary League, this is where you need to start. There are a whole bunch of them. You got 10 to choose from. Pick them up one by one. Even my son, Mini Mox, is still trying to get them all, guys. And you can do it as well. This thing had 38 sales this week, which is $14,060, okay? Now, the copies selling, though, are not all near mint. You can find heavily played, moderately played, near mint, graded copies. Depending on why a player is going after these cards, it doesn't matter. They want to get their hands on it, but the players who actually want to enjoy the cards are not the ones who usually go for graded copies, okay? Keep that in mind. And today's weekly sales, we saw an array of all of those types selling, from heavily played to moderately played, even heavily and graded. They all found a place. They all found a reason to get purchased. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our next card, and this is going to be Tundra. Again, another dual land that seems to be seeing a lot of action. Now this thing had 40 sales this week, which is $18,860. Now overall, this is one of the cheaper blue dual lands to get. Now blue are the hardest, they're usually the most expensive. This is the cheapest right now that I've been able to find, because you can find heavily played copies that do cost a lot less money. I know Mini Mox has lost a couple of bids already trying to get under the wire and get some really cheap ones. He hasn't been able to. He's still trying. And I know a lot of you guys out there are doing the exact same thing. Whether it's for a Commander, whether it's for a vintage legacy deck, maybe it's just kitchen table magic. Maybe you've just dreamed of always having it and you're thinking, I may never have this chance again. And that's why you're stepping into the ring to try to get your hands on your very first dual lands. But the next card, it's even scarier. This one made the list this week and it's big. Guys, this is Lion's Eye Diamond from Mirage. I remember as a kid we thought it was useless. We didn't understand, okay? We didn't get it. This thing had 43 sales this week, or $21,684. And this is where the cheese stands alone. 43 sales equals $21,000. Think about that for a Shieldred. Think about that for other copies. We have to sell hundreds of copies to get to that same level of price point. This is where it separates where Magic players are. For vintage legacy collectors who can trade in modern cards and move into these, once these cards generally change hands, they don't seem to move from that point. That's why I think we're seeing prices upshifting on a lot of these cards. Things are drifting up because now as players get dual lands, as they get these high-end pieces of Magic the Gathering, they are holding on to them. And that's why these prices are now shifting up. It is a conversation topic I will cover in the next week or so. I've got to get more data, more information about some stuff, sales volumes and such, so we'll get there. Now our next card was on the list last week, and it's been on for a few weeks. This is Fork from Revised Edition. Guys, 46 sales. Only $1,816. This isn't like a be-all, end-all sales bonanza where everyone's got to get one, but it is consistently being sold. Players are looking from everything from damaged all the way through to near mint. When I look at Fork, for 2 red, being able to copy that instant or sorcery spell, Time Walk, Fork back in the day, Brain Geyser, all kinds of crazy stuff. This was a staple, and it still works for Commander, works for kitchen table. It works for Legacy Vintage. This is just one of those cards that after you get 4, you're not going to sell them. You're going to hold on to them. You're going to keep them, and they're never coming back around. And that is the best part about the reserve list, is that safety net, knowing it's not coming back. Now let's go ahead. Let's take a look at our next card, guys. I know we're getting near the end here, and you've waited. You've been patient. This is Felder Griff from Alliances. I have no idea that this is on the list this week. I didn't know this was going to happen. But the Felder Griff is here. It's only $9.32. It's not a big, huge, expensive card. But this thing was actually... We actually used this quite a bit back in the day. The ability to pump it up and do crazy stuff made it a lot of fun. The artwork was always kind of interesting. It's not my favorite Amy Weber artwork. Of course, that would be Time Walk. But it's still one of those cards that people take a look at and say, I guess it's not that bad. Especially for back in the day. Remember that. For going back that far, this is not the be-all, end-all of hard cards to get. And being on the reserve list means it'll never be copied again, which is very, very interesting for some players to look at and say, why is this on the reserve list? Well, back in the day, a lot of bad cards made it on the reserve list just as much as the good ones did. Let's go ahead and take a look at our number 2 card this week, and this is Costum Falls. Now, this card is an amazing card. It comes in here with a total of $9.25. Guys, that's all it costs to get there. $519 in sales volume. But when you look at the card and it says, for 2 black and 2 generic, Enchant World. During your upkeep, tap target untapped creature you control or bury the Costum Falls. No creature can attack you unless the controller pays an additional 2. We used to mix this card with all kinds of craziness, guys, to stop those little weedy armies from coming to get us. Costum Falls did the job, man. So remember that. Some of these cards don't have to be expensive to be effective. And that's something players forget. Some old, weird, janky reserve list card you never expected to see shows up and messes up your day. Yeah, I don't care what format you're playing in. It can be hilarious. Now, we've waited long enough. We are at the number 1 card this week, and out of nowhere from Alliances comes Lake of the Dead. It has not taken my top spot in it seems like forever, okay? But look at this thing. We still had $5,981 in sales volume. That is phenomenal. The artwork on this card is just so iconic to the 90s when we played that you just always had this thing around. You always were happy to get it. And yes, it was only like a $2 or $3 card back in the day. It didn't match up to MOX's or even a Lion's Eye Diamond, but it definitely got the job done. And it has found resurgence in Tron decks, Eldrazi builds, and of course, with the new Eldrazi being announced for Modern Horizons 3, you have to ask yourself, are you late to the party? Did you forget to buy one of these and now you're trying to make up for it by buying it now? Are the speculators there? Yes. All of the above are true. Now let's get to the wrap up here. Let's get to the end of this video and let's discuss what's actually happening in the market for the reserve list cards lately. Whenever a conversation comes around talking about the reserve list, you usually only get a few different reactions. You get the haters who think that it's just too cost prohibitive. The cards should all be reprinted into oblivion and made available for everyone to enjoy. But that's not the way this game works. It's unfortunate, but it's just not the way the game is played. That's not how the economy works. That's not how life works. Just because you want to get it doesn't mean you get to have it. A lot of us have saved up and built up a large collection of cards over 10, 20, 30 years, and you can do so too if you work hard enough at it. Some of us are lucky and started at the beginning of the game, and we happen just to hold on to our cards. We got lucky because patience paid off. And perseverance about not having to sell off collections, we managed to come out ahead in the end. That should be encouraging for anyone who doesn't own reserve list cards. That for those of us who believed in the early days and held on to our stuff for whatever reason, and we still have it and it still has value, that's a reason to start buying reserve list cards. That's a reason why you should be looking at getting into reserve list collecting. If you like the cards, if you enjoy playing with this stuff, the old school, really just nostalgic history that obviously still has a place in today's market, when you see these things being played in Commander, Kitchen Table, Vintage, Legacy, whatever you want to play in, because it's still a game. It can be played anywhere you want it to be played. Never let the enjoyment of the game be ruined by somebody making crazy rules that you don't believe in. Follow the rules you and your playgroup want to use. Have house rules if you need to. Me and my friends still do it to this day. But I'm not going to let anybody tell me which Magic cards I should or shouldn't buy or how I'm going to enjoy them. Guys, thanks a lot for hanging out. This market, though, it only has a finite amount of cards. And when you see Modern Horizons 3 coming up with all those Eldrazi, I was not surprised to see how many copies of Lake of the Dead were selling. Because players realize, hey, it ramps up mana really nicely. I should have bought this about a year ago. Yeah, you should have. But you know what the good news is? Prices fall, prices rise. If you stick to it, you can kind of time the market at a certain point if you wait long enough. But you have to have the patience to do so. Or ask yourself, is it really worth waiting when it still costs less than a copy of Sheoldred to get your Lake of the Dead? There's amazing cards out there that cost less than anything in Modern today. And you can afford to buy them if you want, just by trading in a couple of cards, saving up a few bucks, and maybe not eating a little bit of takeout once in a while. Guys, don't let it say that you can't have it. You can if you work hard enough. Thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today. Thanks for stopping by for the Reserve List Top 10. And of course, I look forward to seeing you guys on my live stream. 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Shop smart, shop S-Smart, and always bring a friend to Magic. Hey guys, thanks for stopping by today. Thanks for being here on the channel. Right now, you're looking at all the amazing patrons, the supporters of this channel who make this content happen each and every day. Because of them, daily uploaded content is made possible for everyone on YouTube to enjoy. So thanks again for stopping by the channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being supporters. And I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Well, welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. You've made it to the end. And you're wondering why you're here. What can I possibly have to say at the end of this video? Quite a lot actually, but I'm not going to tell you today. I'll see you on the live stream. We'll discuss it there. Ha ha!